All right, it's been a long week of meetings. I'm happy CPC is here. Get you guys an update. We got a good agenda for today. Just by way of roll call vote, I'll go around the horn. If you could just say present, that would be great. Amanda Varela.
Present.
Jim Lee. Present. Thumbs up. I think you might be muted, Jim.
Oh, you hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. John Ventresco.
Present.
Meredith Keach.
Present.
Looks like Dennis Sheedy has just joined. And Tom Broussard is present. So, quorum. Welcome, everybody. This meeting is being conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members is remote. Remote attendance shall count toward quorum. Meetings being broadcast by ECAT, so we appreciate all of you as well. Tonight we have minutes, pace update. Wendy's joining us. Wendy, I've seen you frequently lately with the pace committee work, so hopefully we won't keep you too long. We do have a budget article that we have to do for town meeting. And then we have the other applications that we discussed at our last meeting for looking at whether or not we want to rescind those and move those to the fall meeting. I don't see Ed, and so if I don't see Ed, I'm wondering if we would push the historic preservation committee priorities. But I can defer on that. I think we wanted to make sure he would be present for that, if I remember last meeting's call.
Tom,
Yep.
So Tom, I confirmed with Ed that he was
Yeah.
going to be here tonight. I just
okay.
tried to call him and I'm sending him an email.
No worries, something might have happened. Something could have come up. Understand. And that should do it. So we do have regular minutes dated January 9th. Unless anybody has objections, I'd take a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
That's Lee and Sheedy. And going around the horn, Amanda?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Meredith?
Aye.
And Tom Broussard is an aye. So we're good to go there. Pace update. So, look, a lot's going on. I know I've been doing my best to try to get you guys emails to at least make you aware of meeting dates. Last night was yet another PACE meeting, and I think you all can appreciate this. People showed up live. So that says something. There were about 25 people on the Zoom and 50 people, I believe, watching via the Facebook post. So the engagement from the community is excellent. It's ratcheting up. The committee last night largely reaffirmed, in every case, increased their allocation if there was a change to more of an override rather than fixing it with expense reduction. So round numbers, we're looking at roughly $7 million of recommended operational override, just under $1 million, I think, on average for expense reductions. The solution is still about $8 million. We have a big community meeting open house on February 26th. I would ask you if you could all come. I would ask you to bring all your friends and invite, your groups, your networks. The more involvement we get now, the better it will be, and the more informed the audience will be at town meeting for when they get to voice their vote, so to speak, with their orange ticket. Tons of information, tons of presentations. There's a Facebook page, there's a website, there are all the information is out there. The meetings can be long online, 4 and 5 hours, candidly. And the last thing, or the last two things I would probably just share. One is it's nearly unanimous, the size of the problem, meaning the range of problem is really tight at about 8 million. And the solution is equally as tight. Like, I think for the most part, it's 7-1-8-0. There's one person who their vote is still splitting the challenge 4-4, but there's still time for final changes when we meet the first week of March, and that's when we'll have a final recommendation. The second thing, I think several of you people have probably experienced this in our community. But the amount of engagement I've gotten personally with people I know has materially increased. And the advice I give them is, one, make sure you read the charge of the PACE committee so that when you come and you're asking to be heard, you're understanding what we actually have to listen for and how we have to engage, and that just makes it easy. The other thing is, and I've counseled the PACE committee, is make sure you appreciate people are trying to be curious. And for all of you Ted Lasso fans, you'll appreciate the reference. Being curious and not judgmental is really important for us as a community. I think it doesn't, obviously I have an opinion about it, but everybody gets their vote, and I deeply respect that. And as long as everybody's informed, then I deeply respect the process, which is great. I had a few people call that were pretty heated, and thankfully I've had experience in that arena and was able to really help them understand that their curiosity is deeply valued, and how do we constructively engage to share information so that we can at least understand points of view and at least give you data and foundational evidence to really engage with the community on. And I think everybody appreciates that. So I know you guys, a lot of you have been through that too. So the community is getting very curious, which is good. So I'll pause there in case, do you guys have any questions? I'm happy to help. It's been talking with people almost every day this week about it, and it will keep on going. So I'm happy to share it with you folks, the CPC as well. Nothing. This PACE committee has done such an incredible job sharing information that there are no questions to be asked. Love it. All right, well, but look, if you don't have any now, you guys can reach out to me anytime. And if you also want to share what you're hearing in the community, obviously I deeply respect and value your opinions, and I would welcome that feedback as well, even if it's anonymous, because any type of feedback helps inform where the PACE committee lands. But credit to that team. They're doing an incredible job. Credit to the vice chair, Nancy Donahue, as well. She's meeting with people almost every day. Just to give you ideas, we've met with the the Easton Educators Association, the union, and 65 to 70 teachers. We continue to meet with their leadership. We've met with union leadership from the town side as well, fire, police. And we are on regular meetings with whether it's the rec commission or anything in between. And there'll be coffee hours as well. So Nancy and I, one day a week, will make ourselves available in the morning, and we're going to have question and answer sessions as well. You'll probably see tables at supermarkets, might even be some door knocking, all that good stuff. So yeah, if anybody's looking for exercise, Meredith, I know you're big on recreation, but if you want to walk around, do some door knocking, I wouldn't say anything, even if you left a flyer about maybe if they were looking for a real estate agent. I wouldn't even say anything. We take the company. But you guys get where I'm going. Spread the word. It's appreciated. John.
I just like to thank you for taking this on. You've been a huge commitment to our community, and this is a big one. No matter what side, what we're dealing with the town and its finances. So, me personally, I appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate it. I do, John, and everybody in this committee gives so much too. So it's great to be on this team. And again, I will say this, John, it's decidedly more positive than I ever imagined it would be in the sense of engagement. That doesn't mean people are happy, but people are engaging. They're actually listening. They're trying to learn. And I think that they're appreciating two things. And I share this so that in case you want to share it. One, that the problem isn't, I would say most people can understand the problem isn't fundamentally caused because we are wantonly spending, wasting money, and they grasp that we are a residential forward community with 1/3 of our land preserved and as a non-taxable. And, as a result of all the things we love, which is open space and rec, that can sometimes be at odds with new growth. There's the town voted, for example, to not bring marijuana in the community. I'm not judging that, but that's a choice. And the last thing I'll say is, John, I've really worked hard to impress upon residents that we own this, that we voted these budgets, we voted these laws, we voted for in this essence, the values and the policies that those budgets reflect. And, it's pretty hard when 72% of your revenue comes with a 2.5% fixed increase aside from new growth. Yeah, John, go for it.
So I do actually, this is a curious question. Do you think because of what's going on federally with digging deep into budgets, that's affecting our community as far as the outpouring of curiosity?
Yeah, that I don't know. I can't speak to that. I mean,
it just seems like a perfect collision.
Yeah, one of the luxuries I've always appreciated about town politics and town issues is that it's local, and for the most part, people care about local, and those federal kind of things, national things, to a big degree, stay out of it, which is great.
It is.
But I will say people are grasping the data and the information that we give. You can't argue that we spend the lowest per capita per resident for our town government department. You can't argue that every one of our town departments and school departments spend less than the comparable data sets. And they hear that, and they are actively engaging for, all right, then what does this all look like? What's the impact? It's been pretty cool, John, to be honest. It's been a lot more, again, a lot more positive than I thought it would be. Not that all the conversations are easy.
I do have one more. And as I've been engaging with the community also, and I don't know this factually at all, but several members of the community reacted to the $150 million override for the municipal center, that they were under the impression, and again, I don't know this factually, that they were told that there would not be any more overrides currently.
No.
As I said, you'd have to check. I
don't have to check, John. I've been at every major town meeting. I've been involved in every major discussion regarding that. I can tell you that there was absolutely zero commitment that has ever been made to say that there would never be another override. I can guarantee
in the immediate, what they were saying in the immediate.
Look, and we wouldn't say immediate. I get it, but smart people wouldn't say immediate future either.
That's right.
So I'll give you a good example. The PACE committee is considering putting forth a memorandum of understanding, which basically represents covenants that we would recommend in addition to any override also be adopted. Those covenants could include, for example, there would be no discussion for a debt override for 10 years. Even that, John, as business leaders or leaders of any institution, we know we have to put in, unless residents with a vote of 500, a petition of 500 people ask for us to do it. And the reason is, what happens if next year the state of Massachusetts mandates that we have water that is 5 million times filtered and requires a $20 million facility? You can't promise any community that. What you can do is again, create covenants, memorandums of understanding, where unless it's for a safety reason or a state mandated reason, you are going to adhere to it. Same thing on the operational override as well. There was a great presentation by Connor last night. I'll share it with you all when I have opportunity. But we spoke to that. What people don't realize, candidly, that the planning for that public safety building began in 2014 when we went out and did a building assessment. What people, is the timing great? Of course not. That's just fact. The timing is not great. Has the timing been good for the fact that since 2006, We've gone 19 years without an operational override in a residential forward community where the majority of our taxes are governed by a 2.5% cap in this era of inflation. That's good. So I just go back to nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants this timing. But when we as a community chose to invest in all of those public buildings that will take us through the next 75 years, I, for one, applaud that. I think that was a smart move. It wiped tens of millions of dollars of backlogged CapEx, repairs and maintenance off of our books. And I applaud Blanche Ames. We took MSBA funding for a single school replacement, and for $76 per month per resident, we parlayed that into 3 brand new schools that became a gem that has attracted families and kept our school levels relatively static. Again, speaking for myself, I'd do that one again in a heartbeat too. And, you know, look, if I'm in the fortunate place where I think most of us are, which is great, that if I had to choose where to invest, choosing to invest in my community that has propped up and supported my home values the way it has, I'd recommend that one too, all day long, twice on the Saturday. But again, let's be human about this without a doubt, and we say this in PACE all the time. No matter what happens, there will be a name, a face, a family impacted by this. It will, if it's no override, the cuts will be relatively near 40 to 60 people on the school side and probably 30 to 50 people on the town side. And it's 110 employees in the services and the programs. I'm sure you guys heard this, but 2 nights ago, there was notification served that we would be looking to close the town pool. Doesn't make money. It's tough. We all love it. I think I've taken my kids there. I find it to be something that makes Easton different in just an awesome thing. But if it's a police officer or the town pool, like, you have to start. I wouldn't want to be in Connor or Alicia's shoes. So yeah, I'm with you, John. There's no good win. And by the way, if we pass an override, there will be people that can't afford it. There will be people that will be impacted. Our community's done a good job with veterans, low income, tax relief, items like that. But you and I know people will still be impacted. Not an easy one, which is why we really want everybody involved. I mean that, like, this, we have to own this as a community and as residents. We have to own what this impact is. And if anybody wants to hear my feedback on how the state has not supported us over these years, I would be very happy to share that with you as well. In effect, there was a Boston Globe article that came out just a few days ago that said this, it illustrated the dire straits that school funding is in. And one of the comments is that there has been a $1.5 billion increase or $1.7 billion increase in school funding. It largely goes to 36 cities and towns out of 351. That we're not one of the 36. That's Brockton, New Bedford, Fall River, Boston. And the next sentence largely is the rest of the towns have to figure out the challenge on their own. And for those of the community that don't know this, that's what Prop 2.5 is as well. Candidly, like, if your expenses go up by more than 2.5 and you're selling a sandwich, you got to raise the price of your sandwich. And if you can't raise it by more than 2.5, you're going to eventually be caught up in a cycle. So the fact that we've made it since 2006 is pretty cool. Wendy knows I could keep going for hours. Hours. Look, guys, find me if anybody wants to have if they have a friend group over and you're looking for a dynamic engagement speaker, I'm happy to come and spend 15, 20 minutes or 3 hours talking about it. Because I have to tell you, I've really found some animated people that by the end of the conversation, they didn't at least have the information necessary to understand the common problem. And it makes it just a lot easier. It removes a removes a lot of, well, they could do better and do, when we share facts, it's helpful.
Absolutely.
Cool. Meredith, I could come to open houses. Now that I think about it, that would be a big draw, I think.
Maybe.
Okay. All right. I'll take that as a hard yes. I appreciate that. Really enthusiastic response. If you guys could make it on February 26th, we'd love to have you. I really mean that. I know that there was some talk about maybe having a CPC table or a CPA table so that people could understand it. I'm not sure if there would be time or room, but if anybody feels passionately about that, feel free to ping me after the fact and we can see if we can make that happen. Wendy, I think I've taken up enough of the airtime of this team, but I also thought, team, it would be nice to just know, get an update on our budget overview. Wendy kind of usually comes in and knocks it out for us and just gives us an understanding of where we're at.
Thanks, Tom. So I think I did a little brief presentation. I can share my screen. Hopefully this is the right one. I've got a few things open. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
I have two screens. I have my laptop and does it take up the whole screen?
No.
No.
Okay.
I think if you go to slideshow on the top, it'll do it.
Yeah, when I go to display the slideshow, it
Next to animations, a little bit over.
the presentation shows up on my other screen.
Yeah.
Well, can you see that good enough?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Wendy, it doesn't look like you have your the PowerPoint like fully extended, you know, the little the button up at the top on the right hand side.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Let me stop sharing and let me try this again. How's that?
Perfect.
Oh, much better.
Good. Okay. All right. Just go to the. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. So, this is the proposed budget for fiscal 26. An estimated surcharge of 1.9 million. Estimating the state trust fund distribution to be 360,000 and investment income at 200,000 for a total of 2.4 million or 2,460,000. Out of that estimate, you can spend up to 5% on admin, and you have to spend or reserve at least 10% of this estimate on the three categories. So the 5% for administrative expenses comes to 123,000. There's existing debt service on the books that needs to be budgeted for 586,606. Sorry about that. The Affordable Housing Trust, actually that might be a typo. I have 246,000 there, but it should be, no, never mind. Take that back. 246,000 for the Affordable Housing Trust, that is the 10%. And the Reserve for Historic Resources, that is not a full 246,000, and that's because you have debt service for historic purposes that would meet that spending requirement. And so the difference between the two is the 130,900 that you would be required to reserve if you're not going to do any projects. And so that's my understanding, that in light of this year's budget deficit and financial situation, that is going to be proposed to put those projects on hold. If you were going to go ahead with funding projects, you would have a remainder left out of this budget of $1,373,494. So that would be the difference. Now, you don't have to reserve this. So the town meeting budget article that may, I don't know if that's been circulated yet, would basically be all of these items with the exception of this remainder for projects. So your total budget would be significantly less that would go forth to town meeting. And, you know, if things change, the situation changes in the fall, you could still have an opportunity at the fall town meeting to leverage that difference for projects. This is just a breakdown of the debt service and just project it out for a few years. So the Dean Street land is going to be paid off in fiscal 26. That's the last year. That will fall off $102,000. Still paying on the Chestnut Street land and fields. That will be paid off in 2033. The Gill property, and that's the debt service on the town hall renovation that we did to restore the exterior and the windows at town hall. And the RO playground debt is just an estimate at this time. Right now, we only have a ban outstanding on that, a bond anticipation note. We have not permanently financed that yet with bonds. That project has not been completed, and so once we know the final cost, we would then bond that. We'll know the final amount to be financed. But it would estimate that would go out until about 2039. So that's the debt. And then just in summary, your undesignated fund balance as of June 30, 2023 was $5.1 million. You took in revenues last fiscal year, $3.5 million. You had expenditures of $890, and then you were appropriations. So your undesignated fund balance as of July 1st, 2024, $6,056,834. So it's a pretty healthy fund balance. And that's the end of my presentation. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them for you.
Can we get that sent to us too, Wendy or Tom?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy.
Mhm.
So I have a question.
Yes.
How many members of the community at town meeting are going to ask if we can dip into this? For
the budget, you mean?
Yeah, I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
No, I think, John, the important thing is to recognize that we are in May coming to an inflection point for our community. I think, you know, the next warrant article speaks to potentially rescinding the items we've recommended for inclusion for a good reason. The reason is we want to hear via the residents' vote what and how they are prioritizing and valuing. You know, a good example is that there's a pretty broad discussion about open space and how it intersects with new growth, and obviously that's a part that CPC plays a pretty big role in, or could play a big role in. Zoning and planning bylaws and policies play a big role. I expect all of those things to be put on the table for helping our residents decide what exactly do we want to reconsider our values or the depth of them, for example. How do we encourage smart growth so that we can have a higher rate than we've traditionally had? You know, we say that we aren't focused on it, or people are asking, why can't we do more? We do decent. Last year was a record for us for new growth, $1.5 million. But the size of the problem we're talking about is 6 to 8 million. Last year, insurance, like no change, went up $2 million. It's going up more than $2 million this year. So when people, that's another thing, John, when people say, it's, why are we doing it this year? Didn't you know? Well, it's pretty hard for, especially, again, the circumstances we find the town of Easton in, how constrained we are from revenue generation, to just bite $4 million when 85 cents of every one of your dollars is people. And I think you folks saw it, but when you got your water bill, I think you saw that there are less hours that are available for you to go and pay live at town hall. That's not because they just cut hours, it's because they're cutting the cost of the person.
We did.
So, like, people are, cuts have already been happening. We haven't been backfilling positions, and it's coming to a head. And if it's all expense, it will absolutely be dozens and dozens of people. But where I'm going with it is, I think we have a couple of things that we can make sure we educate the community on. First of all, though the fields, we may be needed more than ever to help support a capital challenge, because if there's no operating funds and leftover cash and free cash, I can tell you it becomes incredibly harder to fix the tennis courts or to put in the basketball courts or to do the things we all deeply value in our community. Whether it's helping with town hall, so on and so forth. So I think we have a compelling case, John. We get for over our entire existence, we've spent $1 and got 50 cents reimbursement. So it helps. And I think we have a role to play in the future on some capital projects. But look, as a committee, at some point, when we get that feedback, I would expect us to come back and say, how does this impact our priorities? If every step forward that the community puts is, look, we want to focus on new growth, we want to change conservation rules, whatever that is. So I'm not advocating, but I think we have to listen to it. Like if they're clamoring for new growth, then I'm not sure I would be thoughtful about how we preserve, 50 acres or 100 acres and make sure it's the right preservation that fits in with the community's needs. That might be one takeaway. I don't know. People are really passionate about, like, the first thing they said at the open house at Queeset House, they value by Easton open space and green space and rec. Was the first thing they said. So it's a tricky one, John. It is, but we have to make sure people appreciate the huge value we bring to the table. And the development in downtown Easton Village, right? Like, just we've done. I say we very loosely. I'm so new to this. You guys did a great job. But I think that's important that we're all ready to answer that without a doubt, John. So I'm glad you raised it. Any other questions for Wendy? All right. We kept Wendy for 4 hours last night, maybe a little bit longer. Wendy, I don't know all of your team, but please just make sure that they know directly from me and all of us that how grateful we are. That PACE committee is thousands of hours of work, it seems, and you guys always answer any questions people have or data. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a budget article. Let's see if I can pull it up. The article, and please, Wendy, feel free if you want to go. Don't let us keep you. You're always welcome to stay.
Well, I was just going to stay through the budget article and then I was going to depart.
You're the best. Yeah, no, that sounds good. I just sensitive to your time. So Article 20 it currently is the report in FY26 budget of the Community Preservation Committee. So really, this is just the bare minimum that we have to put forth to see if the town will vote to act in the report of the CPC on the fiscal year 2026 community preservation budget and to appropriate a reserve for later appropriation monies from CP Community Preservation Fund, annual revenues or available funds for the administrative expenses of the CPC, the payment of debt service, the undertaking of the CPC projects, and all of the necessary and proper expenses for the year, or take any action relative thereto. It's crystal clear. It rolls right off the tongue. But basically, it's our base budget. The appropriations are exactly to Wendy's point. Admin expenses, 123 grand. Debt service, I think that's the 5% cap, if I remember correctly.
The admin is the 5% cap, yes.
Yep. Debt service we talked about is 587. Affordable housing trust is what we have to allocate to 246, and historic resources is I think that's a reserve as well, right? Wendy?
That's a reserve, yes.
Of 100. We might want to just put that in to the article language. It just says historic resources. Oh, it says reserves historic
Right.
resources.
Yeah,
I
it's
got
a
it.
separate category, yeah.
And that's 130,000 and see if I can share my screen, and 900. And so this is the bare bones budget. We have to put it forth, otherwise I probably wouldn't, candidly, just to enable the airspace for the other important discussions that have to happen. So this is pretty basic. If nobody has questions, I would take a recommendation to include in the warrant and recommend.
So moved.
I think that was Ventresco by a hair, and Lee very close second. And I'll just go around the horn, switching the order. Amanda,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Jim. I'll take that as an aye. I saw his lips move. Meredith,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
and Tom Broussard is an aye as well. Perfect. The next one is pretty straightforward. Am I sharing my screen, by the way?
Yes.
I don't know why it's not letting me turn it off. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
The Article 20.
All right, I guess I'll just leave that up because I'm not sure how to unshare it. The little box that enables me to stop sharing is not there.
If you hover,
Oh, I found it. It was hiding on another screen. So next article is to discuss, but vote, I think we all understand why, to rescind the previous inclusion and recommendations for Children's Museum, Ponds Rehabilitation, Wheaton Farm, Phase 2, Town Pool Splash Pad, and the Tufts Farm Rehabilitation. Again, I myself would like to hear from the residents before we put these forth, because potentially they could be incredibly tone deaf of where the residents net out of what they're looking to see. I think the town pool splash pad is a great example. There might not be a town pool in terms of being open. It's not going away. We're not filling it in. But if we do have reductions, then and we do get strong feedback from the community, that may govern what we are looking at for approvals on some of these projects. I'd love to get your feedback on that.
I concur completely, Tom. I think under the situation that this is a great plan going forward, see how it goes, and then bring it to the next town meeting.
It is absolutely the Ed Hand's strategy. It has become known. So I will give credit for the intelligent recommendation. Does anybody feel differently? All right. So with that, I'll take a motion to rescind any previous inclusions and recommendations for the Children's Museum articles, Pond Rehabilitation article, Wheaton Farm Phase 2 article, Town Pool Splash Pad, and the Tufts Farm Rehabilitation.
So moved.
That's Lee Ventresco. That was hand raised, but then I think you said it. So Lee and Ventresco, going in reverse. Dennis,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Jim, and Tom Broussard is an aye as well. Wayne and Stephanie, if we could connect just offline, maybe we can talk about how we make these calls to these folks.
yes.
We just want to make sure that they feel supported, that they understand more of the reasoning behind it, and that we're trying to keep them in our thoughts as well of what success could look like, and just why we're waiting. And I'm happy to make some of those calls as needed if we want to as well.
So Tom, do you want me to set up a meeting, a call for you, me and Wayne next?
Yeah, that would be fine. Sure.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, next week. I got a lovely hour and 15-minute car ride into work. I welcome company in the car.
Okay.
That would be great.
We'd be happy to keep you company.
Cool. Mr. Hands is not here, so I vote that we remove the historic preservation CPA priorities till a future date. And I have no items that are not reasonably anticipated by the chair. Other than that, again, please feel free to give me a call if you got questions. You have friends that have questions. Point them our way, and I'm happy to help. We've really made a lot of headway, so we're excited, candidly, on the PACE committee. That's it. Motion to adjourn, I'd take.
So moved.
Nobody beats Dennis right there. John, the second. Jim? John?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Meredith?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Tom Broussard is an aye as well. It's good to see you all. I hope you stay well, and we'll see you in a month. Or actually, I'll see you February 26th. I lied. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.
Night.
Good night.